Welcome to the Process Breakdown Podcast, where we talk about streamlining and scaling operations of your company, getting rid of bottlenecks, and giving your employees all the information they need to be successful at their jobs. Now, let's get started with the show.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, host of the Process Breakdown Podcast, where we talk about streamlining and scaling operations of your company, getting rid of bottlenecks, and giving your staff everything they need to be successful at their job. I'm here with Emma Mills of MiPA, and I'm going to introduce her formally in a second. Emma, like to talk about past episodes. Some past episodes to check out on the Process Breakdown is David Allen of Getting Things Done. That was a great episode. Michael Gerber of the E-Myth, and many, many more. And everyone's just geeks out and talking about processes and systems, which is the non-sexy or sexy stuff that basically makes things function the way they should function. And before I introduce Emma, this episode is brought to you by SweetProcess. And if you've had team members ask you the same questions over and over again, Emma, as you probably know, there is a better way. There is a solution to this. And SweetProcess is actually a software that makes it drop dead easy to train and onboard new staff and save time with existing staff. And not only do universities, banks, hospitals, and software companies use them, but when I was talking to Owen, one of the owners, first responder government agencies actually use them in life or death situations to run their operations. So listen, if they're good enough for them, they're good enough for me. You can use SweetProcess to document all the repetitive tasks that eat up your precious time and your team's time so they can focus on growing. And there's you can sign up for a free 14-day trial. No credit card is required at all. Go to sweetprocess.com. It's sweet like candy, SWEET process.com. And I'm here with Emma Mills, the owner of MiPA. That's MiPA. And the UK's #1 award-winning choice for virtual PA support and call answering. And who doesn't want that? You can offload your tasks to them. So you can, again, it's actually the same theme, which is helping they can grow their company. So they help business owners and entrepreneurs get rid of their own, get out of their own way and focus on the fun stuff. They've been helping business for over 13 years. Emma, thanks for joining me.
Oh, no, thank you for having me today. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me more about your company and what you do.
Sure. So ultimately, we help business owners to, what I say, focus on the fun stuff. So it's all of the things that you've just talked about in that intro, all the things that they probably get low energy with, the stuff that needs to happen, but it's not the best use of their time. We help them to focus on getting rid of all of that, getting somebody else to do it who can do it quicker, faster, document it, process it, and leave them with everything that they love to do, the things that they were born to do in their business, whether it's generate more revenue, grow the strategy, or whether it's also just spending that time to go home on time and spend time with family and loved ones. So we ultimately help them get stuff done, whether it's for them themselves as the business owner, getting the task done off their list, whether it's operationally or customer service driven. And we also help them manage their inbound communication so that every phone call that comes in gets answered and answered really well. And they just have a really good experience, whether the business has one person in it or whether it has 10 ultimately. So, yeah.
I'd love to hear the most common requests and the types of clients that you serve.
So the most common requests are, will you answer my phones? Because it's a quick win for every business. Makes you look great. You don't miss any leads. You don't waste money on marketing. So the most common is that answering the phones, and also inbox, because so many people now just get suckered into spending all day in their inbox, being reactive. Totally. Realizing that at the end of the day, they've literally spent all day in there and not done a great deal else. So those are the most common kinds of tasks that, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's quite varied and wide ranging, but those are the most common. I think because they make such a big impact straight away. And our clients, so we don't specialize in a specific sector or type of business. They're all very, very different, from cleaning to trades to IT support. But I guess ultimately, most of our clients either will work on their own and not want to grow a business and not want to grow employed business ultimately, and will want to get extra support so they can earn more, have more time, enjoy themselves. Or they will be a growing, ambitious team, maybe about 2 to 10 people, and they'll all have their own, they'll all be doers, they'll all have their own thing to focus on, but the actual business owner doesn't get any support. that person's normally quite self-sufficient, normally grown it by wearing all the hats. And then we will step in and help the business owners start to really leverage their time and free themselves up.
So, there's a lot of service businesses that you help. So you're helping answering the phones. I can imagine that there's a lot of lost business that occurs when someone's answering the phone in general, or not answering the phone, so what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen on, I'm sure that you've experienced the companies that you've helped when they are answering the phone, they may be making some big mistakes and then they kind of go, okay, let's just let them do it and take it from there. What are some big mistakes people make when answering the phone?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes is not a lot of companies will often give it the time it deserves, like considering it's the first impression that somebody will have of your business. I feel like it gets left to just, as long as we've got a working phone system and people that might grab the phone, I don't think enough analysis or research goes into, like, are we answering the phone well? Are we answering people's queries? Are we missing calls? Are we just letting our team, who have their own job to do, have another responsibility of answering the phone? They actually don't do it that well. It's not really what they were employed to do. It's not what they want to do. And actually the person on the other end of the phone isn't going to get the best experience. So I think my number one would be the amount of companies that we deal with that have actually given no thought to what's going on at the very front of the business. And it's most often, how a new lead comes in and you've often spent money to get that lead. It's how customers come in and maybe interact or ask questions. And again, I think it's like a lot of companies will spend money and research on marketing, getting more customers, or, implementing, new systems, employing new staff, but actually the phones gets left last quite a lot of the time. I think people just assume, well, it'll get answered. That's it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that once we start to dig into it, and most often after we've answered calls for, say, a couple of weeks, or they'll then see specific changes like, oh, my team actually have more time in the day to just get on with what they were meant to be doing rather than being distracted, or we've captured more new leads because before we were just letting it ring out and they were ringing the next person on Google, or it was going to we thought they might leave a voicemail, but they never do leave a voicemail because people don't like to do that anymore. So I think just giving it the attention it deserves as well, and it's such an easy thing to put right as well, and to get somebody else to handle it for you.
You're taking over a lot of people's calls and inboxes, and there's a lot of different probably systems and also variability with this. And I'd love to hear how you implement SweetProcess a little bit and handle systems. How did you discover SweetProcess?
So that is a really good question. So it was about 4.5 years. No, it was maybe like 5 years ago. And I remember it specifically because so basically a guy that we were working with that was working on our lead generation had used it, and he recommended it to me. And I remember sitting down, stupid story, but we sat down in our boardroom and we watched. SweetProcess had a video like on the homepage, and it was like all the stuff that it solved. And at the end, this guy was going snowboarding because he'd like solved all of this stuff. And I sat there in the boardroom with my ops manager and a couple of other members of the team. I was like, look at this. Like, and I know it's stuck in all of our minds that once you get all this good stuff done, you can either go snowboarding or you can go and like do the things that you enjoy doing. So we started with SweetProcess. And I think one of the biggest things for us about using it, and for anybody else who's thinking about using it, or even just starting creating processes, is, we've been using it for 5 years now. And I don't know how many individual processes are in there, but there's a lot. But it's not like all of those got just done and created on day one. For us, it's been very much about, we then had a great place to store it. We could see who'd read a process, who had been trained on it, who'd signed off on a process. We could see when people updated or amended a process. And so the big thing for us was having all of that in a place where we could go, right, that's it. And then literally just week by week adding, internally for ourselves, like adding, okay, we're going to write a process for that now. I'm going to write. And it's been very much like, the marginal gains every week of adding another one. And then all of a sudden you've got this really amazing operations manual sat inside SweetProcess. So for us, it's had a massive impact internally on our own business. Like the amount of times now in our office where one of like maybe a new team member will go, how do I do X? And I'll hear Matt, my ops manager, go, have you checked SweetProcess first? Because most often the answer is in there, because it's like this really great collection now of actually, before you ask me the question, just go and check, because if it's not in there, then we'll write a process to cover it off. And the same goes for our clients. So ultimately, like you said, yeah, we do end up creating and running a lot of processes for our clients. So in the very same way, we have SweetProcess for MiPA, and then we have SweetProcess whereby all of our clients, if we take something off them that's now our responsibility, we build the steps behind it, we create the processes. So it pretty much directs and helps our team get 90% done of any task. So it's a massive part of the backbone of our business for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And it's also just resonates with the message you help your customers with, which is like, let us handle it. And that it kind of allows you to train your team. I'd love to hear, what are some of the most valuable features that you have found from using it? You mentioned a few where you can, see where people are checking off and have visibility into that. What are some of the features that you find most valuable?
Probably number one is the ability to amend a process, improve on it, and you can get that signed off. You can see when it was done, when it was changed. And I mean, for us, it's invaluable with our clients. So for example, if we take over managing somebody's inbox, and then after maybe a month of working together, they'll say, actually, I'm going to let you act as me now, and you can reply to emails. And so we might add in some more steps of how to handle that really well. So SweetProcess does a really cool thing of allowing us to see almost like the audit trail of, well, we changed this process like in month 2 of working together, and we can see that. And it also helps with, if there are queries later down the line of why we carry out a task in a certain way, well, we've got all the audit trail there to say, well, we amended this process back in February. Do you remember? This is what we agreed. And it gives us all of like the timestamp, which is really great for us with our clients as well, because we can see how things have changed and improved and progressed. And I'd say the number 2, which is really, really helpful for us, because we are a growing business, we onboard staff and team members quite regularly. The signing off, the somebody like actually signing their name to say, yeah, I've read this process, I understand it, and approving it. It really, it's like, it's helped our training like step up a gear to go, okay, well, this person onboarded 3 weeks ago. We can see that they've fully understood and they've signed off that they've gone through these training modules. So that's helped us really understand, like, who's got what skills at what point, who's been trained on what. So it really helps us manage our resource as well.
How does it integrate, Emma, with the other systems that you use? Because I'm sure you use different, maybe project management, other things. How does SweetProcess integrate into those other things that you use?
Yeah, for sure. No, really well. So in its simplest terms, we do use a project management system, and we use Asana for that. So how they combine for us is, so Asana will drive our team on what they need to do for a client day to day, week to week. And in that task, let's say a daily task or a weekly task or a monthly task, inside the description of that task, there will 9 times out of 10 be, to do this task, here is the link to, and the SweetProcess link, the URL will just be in. So that's all. So the idea would be that if, God forbid, like all of my team was sick on the same day, I should be able to go into a task, click the SweetProcess link, and at least like 90% of it is there for me to be able to go through to carry out the steps. And, of course, you can't like 100% processize everything. There's always like little nuances or things that, can't control, but the majority of how to carry something out. So that's how we link them together. Ultimately, our project management system gives us our list of things to do. And inside them, there is the link to the SweetProcess that tells you how to do it. So
that's great. Yeah, so it keeps everything nice and clean inside of your Asana, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm curious, if you back up when you were first exploring SweetProcess and you had a high recommendation of someone you trusted, you looked at it, resonated with you. Were there any other questions in the very beginning that you needed answered before you decided to actually use and get SweetProcess?
Any questions? I don't think so, really. I mean, we needed a place that would help us store our SOPs ultimately. And I do recall that we dabbled a little bit with Dropbox prior to that in terms of just having some folders and putting in a Word document that was, had some basic steps in it. But that quickly became apparent that, yes, it might work if you've got maybe 10 documents, 10 processes, but we needed something that was going to take part of the management out of it for us, and just so things like the updating, the having things like cataloged, categorized. For what we needed, it gave us a solution, and it wasn't really the kind of thing, because it's not like it's not a huge cost to have SweetProcess. It's not like it was a big decision-making process. We knew it needed what we needed it to do, basically.
Yeah. What's been, Emma, for you, the biggest game changer in using SweetProcess?
I would say, so as I've said, like, we use it 2 ways, I guess. We use it for MiPA and we use it for all of our clients. And I guess the biggest game changer is, as you quite rightly pointed out, by the nature of what we do, we are carrying out lots of quite bespoke things for different businesses constantly. It's not just like we have one product and it's done exactly the same way. It's not like we might handle your inbox slightly differently to Owen's and to someone else's.
Everyone's differently. And also,
Yeah.
even I may say, well, for this person inside my inbox, respond this way. For this type of person in my inbox, respond this way. So there's probably a million different variations too.
Yeah, exactly that. So SweetProcess has that. It's definitely enabled us to start to really scale up because we have I think we have 350, 400 customers now. It's helped us to really scale up our service in a bespoke way, if that makes sense. It's enabled us to service people in the way that they particularly want, or how we agree on with them, and something that's specific to them. And SweetProcess has enabled us to log that, to have everything we need to be able to do it at scale, but bespokely to customers individually. I guess that's the best description I can kind of give of, because that was always a concern in the very beginning, because you had, different people's logins, processes, all of that kind of thing. And then agreeing with someone and having that logged is 100% has really made the PA support side of the business so much easier.
Emma, how has it changed your typical day? You remember watching that first video with SweetProcess where there was someone snowboarding. I'm not saying you're into snowboarding, but how has implementing SweetProcess changed your typical day?
It continues to change it in terms of the amount of time that would otherwise be spent solving problems or answering questions. So, we are great here in that every time a question gets asked, we'll almost add it to a list and say, okay, how do we solve that in the future? So, what was missing in that question needs to be asked. So I think in terms of changing in my day, in my ops manager's day, in anybody's day, is it has reduced time spent on more than one person being involved in trying to find out the answer to something, because we have so much logged in SweetProcess. It's the natural place now for any of our team to go, oh, I've got this question, how am I going to find that? Okay, well, I'll search SweetProcess first. I'll go to the necessary area. So, because obviously, there's 21 of us now in the team, and obviously the lines of communication that can go into a lot of time spent in the day answering quick reactive questions. But SweetProcess is really a great place now for all of our team to just look and solve things first. So it's really it's made our time much more productive.
What's the next big goal you want to achieve in your company?
Good question. So we do have a really specific plan. And so we have around 350 customers now. And we have quite a consistent scaling plan. So ultimately, our plan is around having an additional 20 customers every month. So although and I guess it's along the lines of SweetProcess, although it's not like one big number to give you, this is how we've kind of won with MiPA. We just do the good things well consistently. So our big goal is just to keep doing the 20 customers a month.
Yeah. And is there, who's ideal customers? I know you serve a lot of different types of customers. Are there ones in particular, like, oh, these two types of customers, if we could just duplicate and replicate those across the organization, we would? Who's ideal for you?
I would say it is the CEO or the MD of a business who has a growing, ambitious, successful business already. But what has happened is, because they are so naturally like the entrepreneur and they have been used to wearing all of the hats, they don't have any support at all. And where we really do help a lot of these kind of business owners is when they realize that when they've sort of experienced even just having like 20 hours a month of PA support just to take a bit back, or 30 hours, while it's not like a full-time person, we really start to make some headway then in leveraging their time and then moving on to doing more, growing more, spending their time on the bigger things. So I would say business owners who do have a team, but they've just never, ever got around to the way of thinking of, actually, I'm going to get some support for myself.
Yeah. Emma, I have one last question for you before I ask it. Where should we point people online to check out more about MiPA?
The best place, and I'm really glad it's just happened now, is that we've just had our new website. So I can now confidently say the best place is just mi-pa.co.uk. That is the best place to look. mi-pa.co.uk. Check it out. Last question, Emma, is what's the next step that someone listening should take to start to streamline operations? My advice is always that operations can be very overwhelming, and you need to just break it down into, okay, what was the last question that somebody asked me? What was the last problem that happened? And just solve that one thing and write a process that solves it. And just set yourself a target of, say, I'll write one a week, or I'll write, because otherwise, and I've been there myself, it becomes crazy overwhelming of solving everything. So my thing is always, okay, what's going to be most impactful for your time to solve, to have a way for somebody else to do so they don't have to ask you the question. Just take it step by step and just keep like layering on process after and before you know it, you've all of a sudden got this amazing operations manual that's helping out your business.
Emma, I want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone check out mi-pa.co.uk. Check out SweetProcess. Check out more episodes of the Process Breakdown podcast. And Emma, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks for listening to the Process Breakdown podcast. Before you go, quick question. Do you want a tool that makes it easy to document processes, procedures, and/or policies for your company so that your employees have all the information they need to be successful at their job? If yes, sign up for a free 14-day trial of SweetProcess. No credit card is required to sign up. Go to sweetprocess.com, sweet like candy, and process like process.com. Go now to sweetprocess.com and sign up for your risk-free 14-day trial.
Hi, this is Owen, the CEO and co-founder here at SweetProcess. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast interview, actually, you know what I want you to do? Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That way we get more people aware of the good stuff that you get here on this podcast. Again, go on to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. Looking forward to reading your review. Have a good day.